So today we need to talk about forced vaccinations, or what many people are calling involuntary vaccinations. Now, what's going on and why could the American people be forced into taking a vaccine that they may or may not even want? Well, I'm going to discuss that. But the reason why these discussions are happening is because we are seeing this new COVID summer wave start coming back. We're also seeing the bird flu cases are increasing in humans, but also cats, dogs, mammals. We are seeing it in poultry. It's going everywhere. So again, it's not just the United States that's concerned with this. Other countries are concerned as well. But today I want to break down why this is and what some people are doing about it. So I'll break all that down in just a moment. But all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So here's what's going on. It says the COVID summer wave is here. Right now, there are more people that are contracting the virus and getting sick than I actually have seen in several months. And it's odd that we are now seeing this COVID summer wave hit us because we are all outside, right? The weather is turning, it's getting a little bit better, it's nicer. People aren't just crammed indoors anymore. But what's interesting is we're also seeing some different variants that are now hitting the United States in tandem. But it's not just that. We also have the bird flu. It says the bird flu pandemic risk high as cow cases appear and officials warn of humans' role. We are seeing cases are surging. This is in different herds of cattle, obviously in poultry. Farms are being completely wiped out because of the bird flu. But that's not what I want to discuss today. I don't want to discuss the potential pandemic that's just around the corner. I don't want to talk about COVID. What I want to discuss is, can lawmakers force us to take a vaccine? Well, not necessarily, because they can't force us to go and get a shot. But could they trick us? Well, that's what one lawmaker is discussing. Just listen to this. This is the Tennessee House. He's a representative. His name's Scott Sapicki. Just listen to what he has to say.
Can you give me an example of a food that's a vaccine?
You're right.
Yes. University of California, Riverside has already perfected the ability to put human vaccines into our lettuce right now. Also tomatoes has the ability to do that also for UC Berkeley. And then Big Tobacco, RJ Reynolds and stuff has perfected the ability to put a human vaccine into tobacco products.
So, he just said that the University of California, Riverside, they perfected putting a vaccine into lettuce. How many people have lettuce? How many people eat not just a whole head of lettuce, but how many people have salads, have lettuce on a burger, right? Have just lettuce on anything. Or how many people have tomatoes? Because he said UC Berkeley was able to perfect putting a vaccine into tomatoes. How many people have ketchup? Pasta sauce. Okay? Again, just tomatoes on a burger. In spaghetti. Right? In a salad. That's where things are going. Again, I'm not going to get into what Scott Sapicki's talking about, because he's bringing a bill to the floor. I think it's like HB 1894 or something like that. But he's bringing a bill to the floor that's more of a consumer protection bill. And I'm going to play this so that you can understand what he's bringing to the Tennessee House floor. But that's not what I'm arguing. What I'm trying to bring to your attention is this is already out there. Just look at this. Okay? This is UC Riverside team studies ways to put mRNA vaccines in salads. It says a team at the University of California, Riverside is working on a method to deliver mRNA vaccines through vegetables. The CDC states on its website that such technology may minimize the number of shots needed for protection against common vaccine preventable diseases. Here's the interesting thing. this is not out there. We do not have a certain place in the grocery store we can go to, and we can go and pick up a head of lettuce with a COVID vaccine. Right? We can't go and pick up a tomato that has the polio vaccine. Right? We can't do that. It's not there. But this is just the beginning. Now, this team was working on this back in 2021. They perfected it. It works. But is this against consumers' rights? Well, that's exactly what this lawmaker is discussing. Just listen to this right here. Because again, what he's discussing, I think, is very important, because once this stuff does become available, that is when lawmakers start to introduce it. When it's something that's just, it could happen, it's a possibility, lawmakers think, oh, that would be great, but not until these researchers put it together and perfect it and start to study it, that's when lawmakers think, oh, maybe this is something we need. Listen to this.
There is no law deeming those that when you go into a grocery store, you should know as a consumer, this head of lettuce is a head of lettuce. The head of lettuce right next to it could contain a vaccine in it. All we're saying is if it does have the vaccine in it, make sure it's listed as a pharmaceutical so people can get the proper dosage.
So that's all he's arguing. That's what his bill is. He wants to define what's a food versus that contains a vaccine versus what isn't a food that contains a vaccine. The reason I'm, again, bringing this to your attention is because more people are discussing this. Can we potentially get small doses of the, let's say the COVID vaccine, of the bird flu vaccine? Could we get small doses put into our vegetables, put into fruits, okay, put into tobacco, like he's already discussed? Could that happen? Potentially. Let's keep listening.
You're recognized.
Thank you. Well, my question is right now, can you walk into a grocery store and there be a head of lettuce for sale that has a vaccine in it? I don't think that's allowed under state law presently. And if it is, and you have to list it as a pharmaceutical, are we going to then have Walgreens pharmacists with a refrigerated section? I mean, how's this going to play out?
You're recognized.
Thank you. This is more of a consumer protection bill right here, is to make sure that if you're going in to buy tomatoes and there's a polio vaccine in there, that you are aware of what you're buying has a polio vaccine. The problem you have is if it's not treated as a pharmaceutical, being the size and difference between you and me, how many tomatoes do I have to eat to get the proper dosage versus how many tomatoes that you have to eat? And if you eat too many, do you get a overdose? If you eat too less, like we had in the cattle industry with aeromycin, we weren't dosing our cattle properly, and the horn flies were developing an immunity to it. If we don't have the proper dosage of a vaccine, it could lead to the efficacy of that drug not work anymore.
Okay. So I'm going to leave that there. That is what the Tennessee House Representative Scott Sapicki had to say. But again, I bring this to your attention because what happens when this does start to spread? We've seen it before with the Biden administration, where the Biden administration came out and they were not forcing, but pretty much forcing people to go and get the vaccine, right? We saw this with the COVID vaccine. Go and get it. You need it. Then you need your follow-up vaccine. You need all this stuff. And then there were certain businesses that said, oh, you want to come in and you want to enjoy our establishment. You want to come into our restaurant. Well, there's a little card that they give you. It's your vaccination card. You have to show it, and you have to show that you've had the first dose and the second dose. And you have to show you had a follow-up. And if you didn't do that, you were not let into the business. Whether it was a pedicure place, a salon, it could be a tattoo place, it could be a restaurant, maybe a movie theater, right? A hotel, a concert. If you didn't have any of that, you couldn't come in. So that's what experts are discussing is, well, what if instead of we move away from that vaccination card and instead we just force it down people's throats, literally by giving them, a vaccine or small doses of this vaccine in lettuce, in tomatoes, in tobacco. I don't know which direction they're going, but the one thing I can tell you is a forced vaccination, in my opinion, is not something I want. This is definitely not something I want, but this is now on the table because we can get these vaccinations in small doses into lettuce and tomatoes. But that's just the beginning. So we'll see what happens, but let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think this is a good idea? Or do you think that these researchers just opened up the doors for another complete disaster? Well, let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.